Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov to all of the confirmation students and your families on really beautiful Torah readings, and Haftorah, and Ashrei, and Torah service. On April 27th, a man named Russell Cook crossed the finish line on a run throughout the full length of Africa. He ran for 350 days. He covered over 10,000 miles. He ran through 16 countries, all the meanwhile raising over $1 million for charity. Russell's original plan was to run to Tunisia from South Africa, and he planned to run 360 marathons in 240 days. Yes, that's more than one marathon a day, without any rest days. He ran through cities, rainforests, mountains, and the Sahara Desert. When he began, he promised to tackle each day as it came, and he surely did. Throughout his journey, he and his team were robbed, they got lost in the rainforest, and they almost didn't get the required visas to complete the final miles of the run. He kept running, though, and he finished, even if it was a few months later than planned. Cook took on a challenge that opened him up to the unknown. He aimed to put positive energy out into the world through his run. He wanted to show how he could work on being his best self and how he could become a better person through running and charity work. His immediate reaction on Twitter and to reporters was, "I'm really tired." I don't blame him. A few days after, he wrote a post on Instagram that said, "I definitely encourage anyone out there to go get after that adventure, whatever it looks like for you." Can you imagine opening yourself up to this type of unknown, to a physical challenge so daunting, leaving your life for an undetermined, unplanned amount of time? We in the Jewish calendar experience many spaces of unknown, many liminal spaces. And while it might not be running 360 marathons, it could be some sorts of spiritual unknowns. While we might not be up to running the length of Africa, though if this is a dream of yours, I'm positive you'll have a pretty good TBHBE contingent cheering for you at the finish line, and I'll be there too. We always read Parshat Bamidbar immediately before we celebrate Shavuot, the end of a liminal period of time. And on Shavuot, we remember the moment of revelation at Mount Sinai, and we honor the continued revelation that Torah can bring in our lives. So I ask, why do we always read Parshat Bamidbar right before Shavuot? Here are a few answers. Bamidbar reminds us that the Israelites received the Torah in the desert. The Gemara in Nedarim teaches that the desert is devoid of life and completely empty. And the Israelites had to receive the Torah, a gift from God, not just in a physically empty, but also a spiritually empty place. In order to acquire Torah, the Gemara tells us to be humble, and then we will be ready to receive the Torah. So we must read about the Israelites in their empty state in the desert. This Gemara reminds me of the halachic requirement to eliminate electronic distractions like our phones, computers, and TVs on Shabbat and holidays. When we come to shul without our constant distractions, it is only then, in that moment, that we're more open to new relationships, to talking to someone who you might never have talked to before, open to a new thought in the Torah reading or a new prayer. This Shavuot, I challenge you to take away one distraction from your life and evaluate whether or not the lack of distraction opens you to a new experience of Torah. Here's another reason why we read Parshat Bamidbar. The Kotzker Rebbe, a Polish Hasidic rabbi, taught that to be like the wilderness is to be untouched by human hands, never having been planted or cultivated, just relying on your own strength. And then, you're ready to have God's presence be with you and to receive the light of the Torah. Reading Bamidbar before Shavuot, he teaches, reminds us to embody the imperative of Pirkei Avot. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? We must show up on Shavuot ready to receive the Torah for ourselves. For those of you who are confirming your role as Torah learners today, our confirmation students, you have taken on the Torah for yourself, now 2 times in your teenage lives, at the age of Bnei Mitzvah and now the age of confirmation. Thank you for being models for us, showing the way to open Torah learning for the revelation of Torah to occur again and again. Here's the last description I'll offer of why we read Parshat Bamidbar. Dr. Erica Brown, a Bible scholar, points to the meaning of the word Bamidbar itself, often translated as desert. If you've ever been to the south of Israel, the area that the Israelites traveled to receive the Torah, you might know that it's not just a desert. There are different colors, there are mountains, there are caverns, there's water. The south of Israel is more like a wilderness than it is a desert. So she suggests we translate Bamidbar as wilderness. When we see such expansiveness, she says, we become aware of our insignificance, our smallness, and more aware of our religious awe. And when we're so raw and open to the world, we crave knowledge and order. And that is the moment we're ready to acquire Torah. Dr. Brown establishes the metaphor of the Midbar, a process of preparation and transformation that we can begin when we read Parshat Bamidbar before Shavuot, this Shabbat, today. We should see the desert not as a barren void, but as a palace of potential and growth. It's in this vast, uncharted territory that we're stripped of our illusions of control and significance, allowing us to be truly open and receptive to the divine wisdom we will receive on Shavuot. To do this ourselves, I think of entering a learning space of a topic that I might think I know about or have learned before, but taking away all preconceived notions, all learnings. And maybe, just maybe, I or we will be impacted differently if you leave anything you'd learned before at the door, even for just an hour. Since the second night of Pesach, we've been on the journey of counting the Omer, culminating this week in the celebration of Shavuot and the receiving of the Torah. The counting of the Omer can also be a time of self-reflection and introspection needed to make ourselves a midbar for the Torah, a wilderness for the Torah. And the reading of Bamidbar is the final reminder that we get to become this midbar needed to acquire Torah. Cook's journey, which made worldwide news upon his finish, showed the results of one extreme act of daily commitment and perseverance. While we don't need to run almost a year of marathons to achieve growth through spiritual commitment, we can take these last few days before Shavuot to ponder, how can we enter Shavuot as a midbar? What areas of our life are raw, uncharted, or in need of growth? And how can we use the gift of Torah to commit ourselves to those areas? We don't need definitive answers. We don't need to finish a run through Africa. But once we ask these questions, we're open to receiving the beauty and wisdom of our Torah that we'll start celebrating on Tuesday night. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.